All right, today we're going to do something a bit different than the other videos. Is we're going to go through a dissection of one of my laps at Mid-Ohio. I'm going to compare my best run at that time of the day with Rob's best run. Rob is a friend of mine that I met at the track, and he took several laps in my car, and I wanted to compare the data just to see where we're at. So that's what we'll do today. So before we get into that, we'll go through some of the landscape of the screen that you see, and then we'll get started with going through the lap itself. So as you can see, my cursor here shows my side in blue. I will be on the blue with the black helmet, and Rob will be in the red helmet. Starting at the top, you'll see the track map of Mid-Ohio. Red dot will show our current position. On the speedometer will be in miles per hour, as well as the integer number, engine speed here, as well as the vehicle gear as well. Here you'll see the best lap at the time, you'll see the current lap, and this is the delta from the best lap at the time. As you can see, we both have several laps in. All the other stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but one thing particularly will be interesting is wheel angle. So I've included that as well. So we'll be capturing that data. The delta T is the difference between Rob and I. So as that number goes up, I am slower. This will be a positive number. If I'm faster than Rob at any point, which you'll see here, I am faster than Rob at that point. So all these points here will be slower on my side. As you can see, the brake pedal will be here. This is in percentage as measured by the car. So quick takeaways is I'm braking too much compared to Rob. So that's quick room for improvement. Lastly, steering angle. So you'll see me in blue compared to Rob in red. Rob is making a lot more adjustments. So he's less smooth when it comes down to the data. So that could be a moment of improvement for me in terms of getting more speed, but fairly smooth from what I can see on my side. So that's a good behavior to have as a driver. So I think that's about it, and we'll go through the details and we'll get started. Okay, so with the lay of the land understood, let's get started. So I want to cover a few things that are pretty obvious. So typically what happens is I come off the track, I load my laps in, I look at what my fast lap is versus my ideal, and I start to understand why my fast is different from the ideal if possible. In this case, I'm using Rob as my reference. So how is my fast lap different from Rob's lap? And as I mentioned before, key point, if I were to come in from the pits and needed to head back out, I would say brake less everywhere. So as you see here, for example, here, braking too much, twice as much braking here. The points are the same. I'm getting off the brakes at about the same time. Here, I'm braking a little later than he is, but otherwise comparable. And here, braking, number one, maybe too hard to cut speed, and also somewhat braking twice. So ideally this should be very steep, and then this should fall off a little shallower than the rising edge. So the falling edge should be a little bit slower than the rise. Otherwise these are more of the same. So too much braking, I can come off the brakes and use the tires and grip a bit better. And one thing is you can see here is what happened here where I started to lose time and suddenly I gained time, and you'll see that soon. So as you can see, we're a few laps in, car's warmed up, temperatures are up, and so we're at the beginning of the lap. So we'll start going through, we'll step through, and we'll first stop here and then speak about it and progress through. So let's get started. So starting from the finish line and taking on to our pending fast laps respectively. So we're coming into turn one. As you can see here, I turned in a little earlier than he did. It's very subtle, but as you can see, there's a little bit of a gap here, but not much. This is pretty comparable, 21 degrees versus 23. So pretty comparable. I'm coming in a little faster. We'll see if that translates to a faster exit. Same gear, different RPMs as you can see. So turn it in. And we are about the same point of the track at this point, coming out about the same speed. So nothing much to see here. So as we come into what I call the bus stop or the chicane, both off the throttle, coasting, probably should be on the throttle a bit to make some use of that speed. But coming in a little faster on my side versus Rob at 93. And here, I'm on the brakes a little more. So I've on the brakes here, same speed. Rob is less on the brakes. So likely he's going to carry his minimum speed through a bit more than I am. Note also the gear change. So I'm still in fourth. He's downshifted to third. As you can see here, he's much faster now. So he shed less speed because he wasn't on the brakes as much. I was on the brakes, got on the throttle a little quicker, but had to make it up. So 57 versus almost 66 here. Big difference. As you can see, it nullifies itself on the exit. And you can see that in the data. If I didn't have the video, you can still see how it's flatlined here. So he gained some time on me here, but then it didn't continue to gain at that point. You can see it. I can show you here. So you'll see where it's flat. So there wasn't a continuing loss of time on my side, just on the exit. So we're about the same coming through. And at this point, you can see, again, this line is starting to go up, and it'll flatten, and it'll continue to go up. So 44 versus 43, but we're in different gears, and we're taking slightly different lines, but more of the same line. You can see on the throttle about the same time. Speeds virtually identical, and we're exiting about the same angle, both on the new or old concrete, not sure the age, but on the different colored concrete. Track it out. Track out looks about the same. I'm a little further out to the left than he is. As you can see, hump in the roof, or I'm sorry, in the hood. You can see I'm a little further out on the strips here, which probably causes me to lift a bit, so to stay on track. So key point, why did Rob lift? He's at half throttle here. I'm at full throttle and climbing. His speed drops. As you can see, I catch up to him. So what happens? And you'll see in a few seconds. Traffic. So here, we're braking in. Rob's coming in slower. He's on the brakes. He's peeling his foot off the brakes. I'm doing the same thing. We're both setting up at about the same point. He's a little further to the left than I am. That's one thing I was trying to improve on, is get further to the left so I can start to hit a slightly later apex here. And coming in at high speeds, it's not the smoothest braking zone ever, so I was giving myself some margin, and that cost me some time. So as you'll see through this part, it gets a little interesting to see where Rob starts to gain time on me despite having to give the point by to the GT4 there. As you can see, we took a different line in. I came not as far out from the left. He came into the left. You can see with the steering wheel, he made some corrections here to get the car where he wanted. Here, about the same speed, slightly on the brakes here. What's interesting is what happens at the top of the crest of this hill, or at the crest of this hill, that causes him not only to not lose any more time against me, but also changes everything that happens later. So this is a key point here that took some time to understand. So we'll let it run. So here, I'm faster, where I'm in third, he's in second. We're at the top of the hill, both on the throttle. You can see it, steering wheel's roughly about the same within a few degrees. But as you can see, I am a little off onto the, a little ways away from the curb as he is. So he's more on the left curbing here than I am. What happens is I track out to about mid-track at this point. He stays left. It's a very key point that changes the comparison here. You'll watch it to see where the placement is. So see that? So middle of the track is this line. I'm really at the middle of the track. Rob, this is that same line, is a car width or half a car width over, setting himself up for this right turn here. I was following the same line as the GT4. So my driving line is the same as his driving line. That's why I lost time. Rob essentially made the track a little shorter. And same speed, different gear. He's already on the throttle. He's almost fully on the throttle. In second, moving towards red line. I'm in third, lower RPMs, same speed, but I'm making the track longer. So at this point, Rob catches the GT4. He's pulling in time on the car in front of him, and speeds are about the same. But as you can see at this point on, as you can see by the time chart here, he continues to just make up time. So a combination of a slow passage through those two corners, as well as my braking here, as we remember here, causes Rob to just continue to gain and gain and gain until he hits a slight null area, and then begins to gain as he goes towards the start finish line. So let's keep going. So these, same point, we're taking this line the same. And here, he's over further to the left, setting up for the corner. I'm not so far left, so that when I take this corner and I hit the apex, I have less track to work with. I can't get on the throttle as quickly as he can. So another position that the video will show, but the data would not show. So this is one of the advantages of the data, is to show where you are with placement on the track. And you can see I could move over a good 3 more feet and set myself up better for that corner. As you can see, I'm trying to make up for it by turning in early. As you can see, he's fully on the throttle. I'm on the way there. So he's able to get more speed, as you can see on the exit. Despite it being equal now, he continues to slowly gain. So here, Rob is very close to the wall. It looks like he's hitting the wall. And for me, I've got a little bit of margin on the wall. So we're coming in 2 different gears. He's a little faster in. I'm on the brakes, he's on the brakes. So other than that, this is probably the most comparable, but our positions are different. And that's why you see it go from a flat area here to another gain in favor of Rob on the entry and exit of this corner. So here Rob's tracks out, I track out. Nothing much to see here. Rob is gentler on the brakes, as you'll see here as we go through the last corner. In this combination corner here, he's more managing the brakes. I've got a harder application of the brakes here, and again the dreaded braking twice. So that was a room for improvement here as well. So here, I'm actually going to gain a little bit on him. It's very little, but I'll take the credit. But in terms of just getting back on the throttle, I was able to get a little more time. So I've got a little more throttle on him. He's also down a gear, so he's going to run this out, run this through second and into third. I'm already in third, so maybe playing around with gear choices on my side could also add some advantage as well. So taking it a little harder angle as well. See, I'm on just over 1G here. He's at 0.94, so similar, but not as bad as I was expecting at this corner as far as the experience here. As you can see, he's on the throttle. As soon as that bump happened, and I'll step back, you can see it again. So using Rob's window, right about here, there's a bump. And you'll see that the camera view bumps a bit. So right after he hits it, or maybe when he's on the bump, he's back on the throttle. I'm on the throttle after it. And that ends up costing me because he gets another gain there as well by me being late on the throttle. So we're coming out about the same direction, but big difference here, 4 miles an hour quicker on the exit. So he's coming out on the exit. I'm still wanting to put the throttle down, but I haven't yet, and he's got more of the throttle down, so he's going to have a faster exit. We're now at the same gear, so all things equal, you should track out faster and taking more corrections, but otherwise very similar in terms of our steering inputs. And that's it. So we'll run the whole thing out. It's only a minute, and we'll go through it, and you can see it all stitched together without the pauses and the commentary. Okay, and as you can see, the best times 149 for me, 147 for Rob. So Rob easily could have gotten another 3 to 4 seconds had the GT4 not held him up and needed a point behind the back straight. So plenty fast for him, and otherwise good analysis to see another driver, same car, despite Rob having never driven the car. I think he did really well. So good learning opportunity for both of us in different ways. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Send me a message. I'll try to answer them the best I can, but just a amateur in the hobby, so don't take this as a reference to how to do analysis, but this is my version of how to make use of this tool. So yeah, any way I can help out, let me know. Thanks.